Listen, we got breaking news involving LeBron James, Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith. This is some real serious business right now. Stephen A. Smith, was ready to handle his business if necessary. We're going to break it all down. These two seem like they are just beginning. And it's kind of crazy. I'm gonna get all into it because this is tough in my opinion. LeBron sat down for a 75-minute interview with Pat McAfee in Indianapolis. LeBron James went out his way to do this interview. We all know LeBron don't do no interviews. And I just like I said, I know people don't care. I'm looking at the optics of the whole thing. It just looks nasty. We got two black men trashing each other, you know, um, on the Pat McAfee show. I just think that's just is very upsetting. I wish these two could figure something out. Um, it don't make no sense because Stephen A. Smith, come on, man, ESPN. I understand. I don't know what they're doing with Pat McAfee and all that, and I like Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee doing an amazing job. Everybody knows that. Um, I'm a big time WWE fan, pro wrestling. Pat McAfee is one of the commentators on Monday Night Raw, and he brings a good flair to Monday Night Raw. It feels real. It feels epic, more epic when you got a voice like him, and then a casual guy hear it, and they hear Pat McAfee. Oh, ESPN, this the coach. The list goes on. So Stephen A. said he would have swung on LeBron James. Um, the question: do we believe that? I think so. I think number one, I don't know how it would have ended. Obviously, I don't know if LeBron would have did anything, but security, everybody there would have gotten away. I think that would have elevated Stephen A. Smith to a much higher, stature than he is right now. Stephen A. Smith, like I said, LeBron compared this man to he's on a Taylor Swift tour right now after everything came out. LeBron said that he wanted the video to come out. He was ready to talk about it, this, that, and the third. Like I said, it just don't look good. It don't look good at all to see LeBron James, sitting down with JJ Redick and helping him get a head coaching job. So clearly he can help a lot of people get jobs. We ain't gonna get into obviously the whole situation is evolving around Bronny James, and listening to it, I mean, shout out to Bronny. Nobody's discrediting him. But LeBron James is basically providing Bronny with an opportunity that no other player was ever given. And it's sometimes people want to speak on that a little bit. I know people might not like it, but there's never been a player in NBA history afforded the opportunity, and the platform to make mistakes and grow and get drafted after a cardiac arrest situation. This kind of stuff don't happen. LeBron said it in the interview that somebody went through a situation like that, and supposedly it took them 2.5 years. But back in the days, they never even played. They never came back from a situation like that. So Bronny coming back. I mean, look at a guy like Isaiah. What was it, Isaiah Austin, if I'm not mistaken? He was a big tall guy. He for whatever reason, he just never was able to get to the NBA. They said he had these issues with his breathing and this, that, and the third. And hey, he never made it. Bronny gets drafted. He was not a top guy, and in college. And Stephen A. said he didn't even really watch him in Sierra Canyon, and he wasn't even the best player at Sierra Canyon. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. We would just have to look at what's happening. And like I said, I'm not here to say who's right and who's wrong. I'm just saying sometimes people want to speak to the opportunity that he was given that nobody else gets or was given. And I know, and it makes people upset when you have somebody say something instead of just going with the flow. And you got LeBron trying to beat everybody upside the head to push his narrative and do what he wants, how he wants to do it, cover Bronny in his manner, and then he tried to phrase it and this and that. Stephen A. Smith was probably the only one who kept it as 100 as possible. Stephen A. from Hollis, Queens. So maybe when he say it, it hit a little harder than if somebody like Pat McAfee says it. I wanna go in with this as well. I'm watching LeBron sit down with Pat McAfee, to do a 75-minute interview talking about a various different topics. He was talking on things that people didn't even know. Talking about the relationship with obviously Michael Jordan, Nike, or just everything. You telling me that you couldn't sit down with a Shannon Sharp? Shannon Sharp been going hard for you on various networks for years. You have all of these NBA players right now with podcast shows and the whole nine. He couldn't grace their platforms. I think that's very unfortunate, to see LeBron James do this, and not only go on these platforms when you have various other platforms to go to, you basically trashing another person, like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith did a lot, in the sports genre and covering. He went through a lot of different things, and I'm not here to cover him, but I'm just saying you got two black men going at it, where I'm pretty sure you was able to step to him, up close and personal. I'm pretty sure y'all could get on the phone and work to some civilized situation to put this to bed. And that way nobody has to go on no Taylor Swift tours, and it got to be no more back and forths and nothing like that. So I start to think about it, man. Draymond got a show, a little podcast running. You see what's going on with Josh Hart, and Josh Hart was your former teammate. Jalen Brunson. They got a show popping. What about Paul George? You got all of these people. You got Jeff Teague and them doing their thing. What about? I know he ain't gonna do nothing with Gilbert Arenas, but if you really want to do it, like take it to that level, you sit down with a Gilbert Arenas. People know the history between y'all two, but they're not going to give these people that opportunity to get that interview. I already know how it goes. You don't have to tell me. LeBron is not going to give his light, it seems, to one of his, fellow brothers, in the NBA at least. I just feel like this 75-minute interview, shout out to Pat McAfee. It just should have. This is like LeBron's real first sit down. Like, no, LeBron don't do interviews. It should have never been done with Pat Mac. It should have been done with one of his people in the so-called fraternity of the NBA. To help elevate some of these shows. You got players. What about Shaq? You could sit down with a lot of people. It didn't have to be Pat McAfee. You could have sat down with somebody who maybe have known a little bit. Why not Shannon Sharp? That's his co-host. And Sharp got a major following. So you're not just coming here to elevate Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp is a walking machine himself. You understand? With Club Shay Shay, the whole nine. So I really think that that's something that I wanted to close with, and I want people to really think about. And I didn't like that about LeBron. I got a whole lot to discuss and break down from this. We're just getting started. Make sure you hit the like button if you're new. Most definitely hit the subscribe button. You already know what it is. It's Flight Sports TV.